Let's talk consent. Consent in business, among other things. Let's go. Welcome to the Loveable as Fuck Show with Sherry Yazzie. I am a plus-size Indigenous woman in a world that tells me not to love myself. I fucking do. Here's how I do it. If you are a woman building a socially conscious business that believes making money and doing good in the world go hand in hand, then you're invited to the Uprising. It is a safe space to be seen and supported by powerful women doing the work to show up fully in life and business with networking, masterminding, and genius business strategy to help you hit your next level. To find out more, go to belovableaf.com. So that's www.belovableaf.com. belovableaf.com. So today we are talking about consent, and I wanted to put a content warning in here. We are going to talk about we are going to be talking about consent, and we're going to be relating it to sex. So if that's a trigger for you, this one might not be for you. All right, so content, right? It's a cornerstone of a socially conscious. Did I say content? Consent is a cornerstone of a socially conscious business. When I was coming up in marketing and I was trained in marketing, it was like all about handling objections, and it was very much, there wasn't like a room for a no, right? You were always be closing. You're always going for that yes, right? And as I have started to run my business without the patriarchy running the show, unfucking my beliefs, I have found that there's room for no, and it needs to be there. Consent is crucial to our whole lives, to who we are, how we feel about ourselves, with our kids, with our partner, with business, with potential, like people we might want to hire. If you've ever been on a sales call, because I have, where it's like pretty high pressure. And so you got on the call because you're interested in what they were doing. So you found out what they were doing, and then you found out it was like $5,000 outside your budget. And you're just trying to find a way to get off the call, but it feels very high pressure, right? It's like when my mom and I, she was shopping for a car when I was younger. And we went to this place in a bigger city, and they took her license so that we could take the test drive. So we took the test drive. She liked the car, but she was like, I need to think about it. And they wouldn't give her license back to her. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about here. That's not consent. That's not having room for a no. And that's not how we want to run a socially conscious business. And I'm telling you this because I had to unlearn the things I had learned around marketing. Because, and still tons of people talk about handling objections. I trust the people who come into my realm to handle their own objections, right? If they have questions, of course, I'm here to answer them. And as I create content, am I attempting to answer some of these questions beforehand? Of course. But am I trying to force them into something that is not calling to them? No, never. And it's this shift from scarcity to abundance, because if we are living in this scarcity place, we need this, yes. But if we know and trust that the right people, the people that we are meant to serve, are showing up in our spaces all the time, and they're going to be a yes, it changes things. So that's the first thing. By intentionally putting consent into your business, into lots of things, into your life, you are intentionally bringing in more abundance. You're intentionally practicing the trust that what's meant for you is coming, what's meant for you is there, what's meant for you is yours. And that right there is super powerful. But that's not the only reason to practice consent. Because let's talk about this. So let's go in the lens of a business. If you get on a call with somebody and you're like, no, thank you, and they keep going, even if they get you with a question or something that like it piques your interest and you keep talking, and maybe they keep bamboozling you until you're like, okay, let's do it. Are you going to be a real willing participant, like excited to be there? Probably not. You're going to show up to the first things, like the first calls, your arms folded, like, okay, let's see if this is any good. I mean, I did it. I wasn't feeling the best about it, but I did it, right? Versus you have people who are like yes, I want to do this. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And even before the first call, they're already doing stuff. They're already interacting with you. They're already putting things out there. That is what consent can do. That's what consent does in your business. And those people, the people who are willing and active participants and excited about it, they're going to get a wildly different results than people who do not, who are not active participants, who are waiting to prove, for you to prove that you are worth the yes that they gave you, even though they were a no. And let's talk about that even more, right? That no, you know, and I know that I was a no. And we both know that I sold out on my no and changed it to a yes because maybe I was felt bullied or pressured or uncomfortable, whatever it was, right? Can you imagine if my mom had actually purchased that car because they wouldn't give her back her license? The level of the feeling of that would be so gross and awful and yucky. Now that's a pretty extreme example, but that's what I mean. Consent matters. And so even if we're handling objections, like someone has a viable objection and we're handling it and trying to get them in there. No. Allow them to have their process. If they're really being called to you, they're going to manage their stuff. And if you want to have a bunch of people that you have to herd around like a herd of cats, that's a whole other thing, I guess. But that's not the way that we run socially conscious businesses. So, because you think about it, right? It makes sense. The same thing as sex. If you're not a willing participant, you're not excited about that. And it's not okay on any level. And again, even if you change my no to a yes, we both know that I said no. And I sold out on that no. I sold out on myself. I sold out on that boundary. It's a horrible way to start any sort of relationship, whether it's in business or with a romantic partner. So if we ever start feeling, and again, same thing, that wheedling, oh, come on, baby, energy in our business, this is what I recommend. Stop, take some breaths, deep inhales, audible ha's, right? Get centered and start trusting that the people who are meant for you are meant for you. And the ones who are not, maybe not ready yet, or they're just not ever, that's okay too. And if you're on a call, let them off the call. Now, do I follow up? Yes, of course. However, let's say I get on a phone call with you and I'm inviting you to do a program and you're like, no, thanks. Okay. I'm like, okay, cool. No, thanks. Got it. I don't immediately launch into whoa, but what about this and what about that? No, I just, okay, great. And then here's what I do. Would you like to hear from me about my next offering? Again, see, I'm asking for consent. And if they say no, I believe them and I don't contact them again. If they say yes, then I contact them. Do you see what I'm saying? And same kind of thing. You can get consent to follow up. Someone is thinking about your program. They're like, oh, maybe, I need to talk to my partner, whatever it is. And you're like, cool. Can I follow up with you in a couple of days? Consent. Yes, no, easy, boom. If they're a no, then they'll either come to you or not. This is the thing. Consent matters. And it matters so deeply for us. So here's on the flip side here. We need to be real clear with our yeses and our nos. The more clear we are, the more of service it is to other people, but the better it is for us. We are not selling out on our yeses or our nos. Because every time we do that, every time, and it starts all the way from childhood. So if you guys have kids, if any of you all have kids, think about it. Like when you're a kid, it's like, oh, go give Aunt Sally a hug. And you didn't want to. You're like, I don't want to. And your mom's like, go, go, go. And so you go give Aunt Sally a hug. Well, in your body, you've internalized, even though you were a no, you were supposed to do it, so you did it. And it was okay. It was fine. It was no big deal. And you start rationalizing that shit. And then it happens. It happens with friends or lovers or business interactions. And you sell out and you feel shitty and you feel angry and you feel fucking disillusioned. Okay? So all the way from childhood. So if you have kids, this I highly recommend. If your kid says they don't want to hug you, don't make them hug you. If they don't want to go kiss Aunt Sally, don't do that. If they my son he said, I don't want to do kisses anymore. I like hugs. And I was like, okay, Now, do I like kisses? Yes. But am I going to respect his boundary? Yes. Because I want him to know that when he says, this is my boundary, and it gets respected, how good that feels. And that he's worthy and deserving of that. And if you're sitting there and going, Sherry, can you tell me I'm worthy and deserving of that? Here it is. You right there are worthy and deserving of honoring your yeses and your nos all the time, no matter who it's with. You matter. How you feel matters. And whether, because I had pretty good boundaries, but obviously there were some things, right? I was raised back in the day when kids weren't supposed to have their own thoughts and feelings. They were supposed to be more quiet and things like that. So I did have that supposed to kind of thing, right? And what I've found is the more I shrug that off, the better my whole life goes. I've been on those calls where I said yes to something that wasn't a hell yes. It just wasn't right. And then I regretted it and spent a lot of money on it and didn't get the results that I wanted. And I've had those times where it was a hell yes and amazing things happened. And there were times I said no and amazing things happened as well, right? Now, looking back, I can look at it and go, oh yeah, I see. That one was a learning experience and this one went really well. But in your day-to-day, I'm challenging you to start looking, where am I asking for consent? Where can I ask for consent? And then where am I giving consent? And if I'm giving consent when I don't want to, I'm going to stop the shit out of that right now. And I'm intentionally going to give consent. It's intentional from here on. My yeses and my nos mean something. And I am only going to go with the ones that are hell yeses, right? Because in our lives, the more we can trust us, the more we can trust that we have our own backs, the easier it is to make decisions, the easier it is to take those next steps, the easier it is to take those risks, the easier it is to get out of our comfort zone, right? Because we've got our backs. We know we've got it. So if you've been following along, I was me and my family were in a really major auto accident. We literally got hit with a ton of bricks. And we were thousands and thousands of miles from our home. We had sold our home. The trailer that we were traveling the country in our truck and trailer, both were totaled. And we were stranded with no vehicle, no anything, not by any rental car companies. And it was horrifying. And we were all hurt, but we all walked away, thank God. And it was... in those moments, it was so hard. There were times, like literally, I just felt like I could barely breathe. And I lived through it. I made it. I did it. Here I am. And I know now I have got my back. And I've got my back so well that I can be stranded thousands of miles from anybody I know and work that shit out. It gives you the power to start making decisions in your business, in your life, in your relationships. It gives you the power to start saying what you want and start creating it because you know you have your back. That's why consent matters when you give it, and it also matters when you're asking for it because you're allowing someone else to have the same experience for themselves, to get back that power, maybe that they've never felt. When you respect someone's yes or their no, it's super powerful. When you respect your kids' yeses and nos, it's super powerful. Those memories live in their bodies, just like they live in ours. And when we find ourselves surrounded by people who want to be there, people in our business that are excited to have purchased from us, it's an entirely new experience. It's a new experience for them and it's a new experience for you. It's something where the real magic happens. And I have literally had to unprogram the old messaging that I had around no's and yeses. And here's the other part. As a child, I would stress myself out, and I sometimes I wouldn't even ask for what I really wanted because I was so scared that the answer was no. I was horrified of no. I thought it would be the end of the world. And here's the other part of this. The more no's you get, the more you know it's not the end of the world. The more you know it's okay. And no's aren't necessarily someone coming up and saying, no, I don't want to do that, thanks. Or you're on a call and you pitch them and they say no. No's are doing a live and having no one show up, putting a post out into the world and no one commented on it. And we have to get used to getting these no's to be able to be out and be visible. Because why? We have a mission, right? If you're listening to this, I'm clear, right? Lovable as fuck badasses, we have a mission in the world. We have a mission, a soul calling to do something in the world. We're called for more. And know you are, because you're here listening. And so for us, we do need to be visible. Fighting the good fight, making a difference in the world, that includes visibility. And so sometimes you're going to get those no's. I did 300 days of lives, 300 lives in a row every single day. And sometimes no one showed up. Lots of times nobody showed up. Sometimes nobody even commented on them. Like, I had a whole fuckload of no's, right? Now I can get on and do videos and they're lovely and amazing. And I have a voice that's unlike it would have been before I did that. Like, so my point is, I mean, I'm not saying go do that. There's easier ways. I tend to do things the hard way. But in getting no's, you can tell your nervous system, oh, listen, we didn't die. We're okay. Oh, look, here we are. We didn't die. We're okay. And the more we practice and the more we're visible, it gets easier and easier and easier until literally it lives in your body that it's okay. It lives in your body. It's an excitement. I wanted to talk to you all about consent, and I was so excited about doing this. I took a break from hanging out. So I was hanging out with my husband. Now we're going to go to a movie, and I wanted to do this in between, right? So that's the power. So I invite you, make your yeses intentionally, your no's intentionally, and ask for consent in your business, with your kids, in your relationship, and see what gifts that brings to you, what transformation that brings to all of those areas of your life. In case nobody has told you yet today, you are lovable as fuck, just the way you are, and I'll see you another day. To send me your questions or stories, email me at loveableafshow@gmail.com. If you loved the show, please comment, like, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to help me get this show in front of more women who need to know that they are lovable as fuck, just as they are. Check out the show notes or go to beloveableaf.com. That's beloveableaf.com for more of how to unfuck yourself, love yourself, and be happy no matter your size. I said it before and I will say it again. You are lovable as fuck, just as you are.